Welcome to Oklahoma Memo. It is time for a college pick'em with my buddy from OSU, the other half of Bedlam Buds. Jeremy, what's going on, man?
Good morning, everybody. Go Pokes.
Well, and Boomer Sooner right here. And if you don't mind, let's start with the Oklahoma-Alabama game. Huge game, basically a playoff matchup for the Sooners. The Sooners at 7-2, coming off a win, an impressive, gritty win over Tennessee, especially defensively. The offense looked fine. It felt like the Sooners are finally getting it together post the John Mateer injury, but the Sooners are 6.5-point dogs at Tuscaloosa. On the other hand, Alabama, they beat last week. They beat LSU 20-9, but didn't necessarily look all that impressive. What is your take on this game, and who do you like?
Well, I think that I hate to say this, but I think that Alabama wins. I think that they win by 7 to 10 points. So I think they cover the 6.5. And one of the reasons why is it's at home, and this is a revenge game. Okay. Last year, whether you had the other two losses and whether you want to consider this or not, but Alabama looks at OU as the reason why they did not make the playoffs last year. So this is a game they've had circled. It's not a game that they've looked ahead to, right? But it's a game that they've had circled. And I think that when you add that emotion in at home, knowing what's at stake here, Alabama's shooting for that top 4 spot. They're shooting, to get that bye, basically. And so I think that Alabama, I think that they're going to really put it together this week. I think that their defense is going to cause OU some problems, OU's offense some problems. And I think that, again, I think it's going to be a close game, and I think it's going to be a fun game to watch. But I'm predicting Alabama to win 7 to 10 points.
I agree with you in terms of Alabama winning. I think that Oklahoma is going to cover. I think it'll be super, super close. But I think the mental aspects of this game are pretty huge. Oklahoma kept Alabama from the playoff last year, pretty much. It's a revenge game. And Alabama is gunning for a top 4 spot, which is a big deal. You don't want to be going on the road, or you would love to not even have to play that first weekend. You would love to just go to one of the nice bowls, go to the Peach Bowl and play whoever wins between Georgia Tech and Texas Tech, or however that shakes out. But I think a lot of this depends on whether or not R. Mason Thomas is at full strength and is able to wreak havoc on the Alabama offense. I think with R. Mason Thomas in there and a particularly aggressive game plan from Brent Venables, I absolutely could see Oklahoma winning. In fact, I have this vision in my head of Tate Sandell kicking a winner from 58 yards with no time left and Oklahoma winning 22-20. So don't mistake this for me saying that Oklahoma cannot win this game. I absolutely think Oklahoma can win this game. And then all of a sudden, we're talking about Red November here in Norman, like Red October back in 2000. And I hope that's what the Sooners do, but I have to give the edge to Alabama here. I think it'll be a close win, but in terms of maybe a face-saving pick, I'll say OU covers.
Well, do you think it's going to come down to a last-second play? Do you think it's going to be that close to where it's it is a 58-yard field goal, or it is a 60-yard desperation pass? Do you think it's actually going to come down to that?
Most of the OU Alabama games last year was OU dominant, which, I really, really enjoyed. And then the previous time OU and Alabama played was in the playoff. Alabama got out to a huge lead, and then OU and Alabama traded scores the rest of the way throughout. But historically, OU and Alabama usually have pretty good games. I think it's going to be super close. And I absolutely could see this coming down to a possession or two at the very, very end.
Well, I just want to point out that Oklahoma State is undefeated against Alabama. When we played, we're 1-0.
It was the Independence Bowl, right?
Independence Bowl. Yeah, I was there. And so, OU's got a lot to live up to if they want to keep our state standard high. They better win this game. Because, again, Oklahoma State's undefeated against Alabama. So,
well, hey, speaking of Oklahoma State, let's. I know that it's not a top 25 game, but let's talk Oklahoma State, Kansas State. They're playing this Saturday, and
also at 11 o'clock. Why do they do that? Why do they put both state schools at the same time? It just
Oklahoma will be at 2:30. So
Oh, is it two? Oh, I'm reading. Okay,
yeah.
I was reading the wrong side down there. Right above it, the
Well,
South Florida game's at 11. That's my bad.
yeah,
Good,
so it's
because that always irritates me. There's been so many times they've done
no,
that. That just always irritates me.
it should be like a state law. Oklahoma and Oklahoma State can't be playing at the same time unless they're playing each other.
Well, and 4 hours apart. So if you want to try to make both games, you can.
It's just business sense, Jeremy.
No,
Yeah.
come on, we're trying to help out here.
So Kansas State, they are favored to win. Oklahoma State's 1-8. What are the Cowboys' chances, Jeremy?
Okay, so I've said this probably, I don't know, 5 weeks in a row now. If there's a game left that they can win, it might be this one. And the key is not Oklahoma State. The key is Kansas State. If Avery Johnson, if he is doing his thing, then this game is over and it's over early. If Avery Johnson can be controlled, if he is not allowed to run wild as he does, and I mean actually run wild as much as throw, if we can control him, then I think that it'll be an interesting game. I don't predict Oklahoma State to win the game. What's the spread? Is it still
19 and
19? Yeah, 19 and a half. That's a lot of points. If the defense and special teams can hold together, I think Oklahoma State can cover that. But I'm having a hard time right now predicting that. I did predict Oklahoma State to cover Kansas, and they did. I think that's the only game so far after UT Martin that Oklahoma State has actually done that. But again, it's about controlling Avery Johnson. Oklahoma State is what it is. You have a quarterback that has not played a lot. He's now, back in the lineup. If not, you have a wide receiver playing quarterback. And I think they're going to let it loose. I think they're going to go try and have fun with this. They've had the extra week to prepare. The guys seem relaxed, but it's all depends on, can we stop Johnson? And right now, I'm not sure that Oklahoma State can.
Oklahoma State has 2 home games left. You've got Kansas State this weekend and Iowa State. Oklahoma State went 0-4 in the Big 12 last year, and they face going 0-4 again this year. This is probably their best chance to avoid that historical footnote. Uh, I, you know, I wouldn't put money on this, but just for the sake of like sportsmanship and rah, I think OSU will keep it close. I think this will be a good game. I think the crowd will be into it, realizing that it's probably the best chance for a win as we end the season. I like OSU to cover, but yeah, obviously Kansas State probably wins the game.
Yeah, they probably do. And our last home game is Iowa State. And they've kind of been Jekyll and Hyde this year as well. But once again, you can't look at that. And and clearly the team and coaches cannot look past tomorrow, much less Saturday, much less Sunday.
Hmm.
So yeah, there's a lot going wrong in Stillwater when it comes to football. Again, they've kind of circled the wagons though. Again, they've been putting on better performances. They've improved. They don't quit. They try hard to the very end. They're just not that good of a football team.
Right.
And man, that hurts to say, but I'm just being honest.
Right. It's the basketball team is what everybody's going to be trying to live up to this year. Men's and
I've had
women's.
I've had more people already talking basketball and wrestling. A lot of people have come up to me and gone, "Man, I can't wait till your guys start showing up. I can't wait till we see some wrestling," because everybody likes a winner, and that's what
Right.
sports.
Right. So let's, speaking of winners, let's start picking them. Top 25 Friday, November the 14th. That would be tomorrow. We're recording on Thursday morning. You have Clemson 4-5 headed to Louisville, playing at Papa John's Stadium or whatever they call it now. Louisville is a 2.5-point favorite, but Louisville's coming off of a loss to Kansas. California. I saw something pop up on my screen. I was like, threw my brain off. Louisville lost to California last week in overtime. So Louisville 7-2. They probably don't really have a shot at the playoff now. And you got Clemson coming off of a win over Florida State. Who do you like?
I still like Louisville. I still like Louisville at home, 2.5, 3 points. I think they win. I think they cover. I think that this is a chance for Similar to what's kind of happened with Oklahoma State. There's been some teams like Texas Tech, for example, that Oklahoma State has historically dominated, and teams are getting their licks in while they can. And I think that that's kind of what's happening with Clemson this year. As other teams that Clemson used to beat up on for a couple of decades are now trying to get their shots back in. And I think Louisville is one of those schools. I think that it's not necessarily that harsh in-state rival type of thing. But, you got your conference pride on the line. You got your conference titles on the line. And I think that Louisville comes out to prove a point. I think that they put it together. They might actually have been looking ahead to Clemson because
Mhm.
Florida State, again, has not been that good this year as well themselves. I mean, they've been better than last year, but not that same Florida State that we grew up watching. And so I still think Louisville wins, and I think they cover.
I liked what I saw out of Clemson last week. Brent Venables went out there to watch his kid play, and it seems like they still have a little bit of fight. I'm concerned with a Louisville team that is able to lose to California at home. In this one, I just think it's kind of mental. I like Clemson to win.
Okay, okay. So
So
so far we're on opposite. So far
right,
we're 0-2. We're
right,
against each
right,
other on one
right.
of them.
Same night, Friday, you've got the Minnesota Golden Gophers headed to Eugene to play the Fighting Ducks. Oregon is a 25.5 point favorite. Oregon coming off of an 18-16 walk-off win over Iowa. Minnesota, I've got no idea. But they're headed out to Eugene, certainly for a loss, right? I think Oregon wins this one. I don't know if they cover. Oregon wins, though.
Oregon wins and Oregon covers. Yeah,
Yeah.
Oregon wins and Oregon covers. At
Yeah.
home in Eugene, they're ridiculous.
They are. I always wonder as we get to this time of year whether fog will play a role in the Civil War, which is the game between Oregon and Oregon State, which I don't know that they play anymore, given that they're in different conferences. But man, I used to see some games, especially when it'd be played in Corvallis, that just be foggy and just it just was very the most Oregon weather ever. So we look at weather. It definitely impacted the Notre Dame Navy game last week. We'll talk about that in just a bit. But I definitely like Oregon to win, no matter what. It doesn't really matter. Saturday, let's get to this. Some of the big games I got here. Number one, Ohio State is at home to play UCLA. UCLA's had some good moments, but Ohio State is 9-0, coming off a 34-10 win over Purdue.
Ohio State. Ohio State. Just call it. I think Ohio State covers as well. That's a lot of points, but I think UCLA has had a really rough year, and Ohio State again is trying to prove points. They're trying to win and get those style points as well. I think they blow them out of the water.
The Buckeyes have a tendency, and I've looked at games and point spreads for a lot of years, and I don't have like data sitting in front of me. So this is just memory here. They have a tendency to underwhelm against the points. For example, I think the win against Purdue was supposedly like 30, it was a 30-point spread. Ohio State won 34-10. I think they probably just come under a little bit. I don't know whether Ohio State's having mercy or what the deal is. So I like Ohio State to win. I don't know if they cover or not, but UCLA is not going to beat them in Columbus. No way, no how.
No.
Indiana, after this is one of the rare games that we differed on last week. Indiana surviving a scare from Penn State. They're going to be home against Wisconsin, who shockingly beat Washington at home. Now, mind you, the Wisconsin offense was as advertised. That was a 13-10 game, just woeful. But it is what it is. Wisconsin is going to be in Bloomington this weekend to take on number two Indiana at 10-0. Indiana is a 28.5 point favorite. What do you think?
Once again, I sound like a broken record here, but I think Indiana wins big, and I think they cover. I think that we're getting down to the nitty gritty. We're starting to get again the need for style points to make that top 12. And even though they're basically guaranteed a spot in the top 12, you want that top four spot. You don't want to take any chances. And sometimes even a close win can maybe slide someone else above you. And so I think Indiana comes up to prove a point, and I think that Wisconsin did what they did last week and, got that big surprising win, and then I think that Indiana's just gonna run right over them.
So I think you make a really, really good point. The teams that can run roughshod over other teams will run roughshod over other teams this time of year because they need the style points. Speaking of which, you got Texas A&M playing a disappointing South Carolina team. The Gamecocks are 3-6 this year. This one's in College Station at Kyle Field, an 11 o'clock game. 19.5 point favorite for Texas A&M. I like Texas A&M to win and to cover.
Yeah, absolutely. I hate to say this, but Texas A&M is a really good football team. They are playing very well. South Carolina is not. A&M win, cover. Write it down.
Now, let's move our attention to the game that ESPN's going to be at this weekend. Number 9, Notre Dame, headed to Pittsburgh to play number 22 Pittsburgh. Notre Dame is a 12.5 point favorite, but I wanted to point out something that's sort of been on my mind. I'm thinking, watching the Fighting Irish, that we might be looking at the greatest college football team of all time.
Like possibly the greatest team ever assembled, ever put together. How anybody could ever make mistakes when looking at that team is unconscionable. It's almost a sin because of their connection to touchdown Jesus. See, to think that there's anything wrong with this Notre Dame.
So they lost a couple games at the beginning of the year. They lost to Miami, and then they lost to some other team that was really good. I forget which. It doesn't really matter because it's not the same players. They shipped in an entire other team, and this team has been great. All kidding aside, Notre Dame, for the second year in a row, is showing that they're on a roll at the right time of year at the end of the year. Notre Dame is a 12.5 point favorite. I don't care about point spreads whatsoever. I do think Notre Dame covers it. I think they win. I hope Pittsburgh wins, but I think Notre Dame covers this.
Yeah, I'm gonna agree with you on that. I think Notre Dame wins. I think it's going to be close. I think it's going to be under the spread. But I think Notre Dame, just like last week, I think Notre Dame wins but doesn't cover. Despite them being the greatest football team in the history of the world, they are on the road against a top-ranked team, and they'll probably show some mercy. So Notre Dame wins, but they don't cover.
Yeah, and of course they did cover last week against Navy.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, I predicted they wouldn't. I predicted they wouldn't.
Well, this
I was wrong.
this this game could be one of those 38-35 4 overtime type deals. Notre Dame's already been involved in that. The other team that they played and lost to was Texas A&M, which is a great game. That was a game that I watched. But again, Pittsburgh playing at Acrisure Stadium, Heinz Field. It's not the greatest home field advantage. Although, actually, I visited the Pitt campus. It's actually pretty nice. But it's not like playing in South Bend. So, and by the way, as I heard Shane Gillis describe on Monday Night Football with Peyton and Eli, if you grew up in Pennsylvania and went to Catholic school, you're a Notre Dame fan. So there are going to be plenty of Fighting Irish in the stadium. I like Notre Dame to win and to cover. Next game is going to be played at a special stadium at Wrigley Field, Michigan. Northwestern. Northwestern is kind of overachieved, I think, a little bit. They're 5-4. Michigan 7-2. Michigan is an 11.5 point favorite at Wrigley. What do you think?
Gosh, this one's tough. Michigan is solid. Michigan is not spectacular. Michigan is what I again would call just a solid, fundamental football team. They go out, they do what they do, and then see what happens at the end of the day. I'm not 100% sure. I kind of think that Michigan wins, but because it's on the road in Wrigley, I think that Northwestern covers. I don't think that Michigan gets the 11.5, 12 points where it is, but I think Michigan kind of grinds one out. Northwestern has been playing better recently, but I don't think they're enough to beat the Wolverines, but I don't see Wolverines covering.
I agree. Wrigley's a special place. I was actually there this summer. And not that Michigan can't blow them out. It's just that Northwestern's played pretty good at times. I like Michigan to win, Northwestern to cover. Next game, we have Navy, who let us down last week. The worst team ever. Maybe the worst team of all time.
No, they're a great team. It was just a better team that beat them.
Yeah, no, kidding aside, hyperbole aside, South Florida and the future Oklahoma State coach, Alex Gorish, taking on Navy. South Florida is a 9.5 point favorite. South Florida, theoretically, via group of 5, has a shot at the playoff. I think South Florida wins. I think they cover. It's an 11 o'clock game. What do you think?
I think that I want to say I think Navy pulls one off here.
Like they
I think
win.
Navy pull. I think they win. I think they
Uh,
win. I'm going. My picks this week have all been big picks, and I think Navy pulls this upset off.
I think
I
South
think that
Florida.
they're. I'm sorry,
No,
their unique style of offense, their unique style of
yeah.
play. They create matchup problems. Teams aren't used to playing those kinds of styles.
Mhm.
And again, I think that Navy wins.
Arizona at Cincinnati. Cincinnati's a 6.5 point favorite. I don't really know that much about either team. However, Cincinnati actually has a pretty good home field advantage. They have a crowd that shows up. I like Cincinnati to win and to cover.
Yeah, we've played both teams, and Cincinnati's the better team. I think Cincinnati wins and covers just like that.
Next one is an interesting one. It's UCF at Texas Tech. Texas Tech is number 6, 9-1. We've talked about them in previous videos as actually having a very legitimate national championship uh, chance in terms of the playoff. But I watched a video from Josh Pate this week where he talked about the places he's been to this year. He says Texas Tech has the nicest facilities in the country. In the country. And
Really?
yes, he says it's been the best stadium he's been to,
Hmm.
best facilities, and the way he explains it is that entire city comes out to watch them. And I get it, Stillwater probably does, but I don't know that they do the way that Lubbock's a bigger city, it's a bigger place, and they shut that town down for Texas Tech. And I think that they've got something there that is very much a la Oregon. Texas Tech is a 23.5 point favorite against UCF. I don't know about spreads. I don't even know that I care about the spread this one, but I absolutely think Texas Tech wins. And I think per what you explained, what you said earlier, I think Texas Tech shows out a little bit, maybe wins this one big.
Yeah, absolutely. Texas Tech there has will accidentally score some points in this game. Again, just like they did against Oklahoma State, a defensive touchdown or a special team, something like that. 23 and what I'm looking at here is the spread's about 23, 23 and a half,
Mhm.
and that's only 3 touchdowns. I mean, and so I think Texas Tech wins. I think they cover. Again, you're going for beauty points, for style points, and Texas Tech has not had um what I would call a tremendous amount of blowout wins, and when they are also shooting for that top 4 spot. They're number 6 right now, so they're shooting for that top 4 spot, so if, like, OU beats Alabama, Tech could start moving up into that, and
Mhm.
so they're going to win big for that exact reason.
Next game is in Boston. Boston College, 1-9. Not a good year under Bill O'Brien, hosting playoff hopeful Georgia Tech. I love Georgia Tech. I love their uniforms. I love their coach. I think that's a really, really solid team and a program that Brent Key is building up there in Atlanta. 8-1 Georgia Tech. They are a 16.5 point favorite at Boston College. Boston College was one of those schools. I love their stadium. I love watching games there because it feels when you're watching on TV, it feels like they're playing in a box. It's very odd. And those are some of the things I like. I think Georgia Tech wins. I don't know that they cover. I mean, it's sort of like the Oklahoma State Kansas State game. Boston College is 1-9. Do they have a little bit in them? Georgia Tech might be feeling the pressure to win and win big. So I don't care about the spread in this one. I just say Georgia Tech wins.
Well, I think Georgia Tech wins. I think they cover the spread, and once again, this is going to be a refrain for the next several
Mhm.
weeks. I think they cover the spread simply because style points. They're number 16 right now. They have got to move up into the rankings. And so the only way you can do that is to get quote unquote impressive wins. And impressive wins means lots of points. And so I think that Georgia Tech wins. I think they cover. I think we're going to start to see a lot of desperate teams. And then you're going to see a lot of teams that are like, well, we're not going to a bowl game. So what the heck? Let's just kind of wrap her up.
Right. Wrap her up. Now, this next one's very intriguing. You have the Iowa Fighting Hawkeyes all of a sudden with an offense headed out to Los Angeles to play USC. Number 21 Iowa gets number 17 USC. USC dealing with rumors about Lincoln Riley's future. Will he go to LSU? Will he go elsewhere? Um, USC is still in the running for a college football playoff spot. Normally, I would say that means that USC is going to win this game and maybe even cover per what you said. But I kind of like Iowa to go out there and keep it close, keep it very, very close, maybe even win.
You literally took the words out of my mouth. I was kinda hoping you'd say, "No, I think USC is gonna do it," because I think Iowa and again, I absolutely hate to say this, but I think that Iowa wins the game straight
I
up.
agree. I agree.
I kinda think USC are pretenders. I don't think that they're really as
And
as
I think
what's that,
Iowa's
ranked?
underrated. That game against Oregon showed me sometimes when you lose, you're like, oh well, you lost. No, Iowa looked pretty darn good in that game.
Absolutely. I watched Oregon put up a 1.5 million points on my Oklahoma State Cowboys.
Yeah,
I mean, a minute 13 into the game, Oregon was already up 13 points.
right.
And Iowa shut them down. And yeah, it was rainy and, the kind of cold east weather, but you still got to stop those guys. You still got to tackle those guys. You still got to make that happen. And Iowa did that. Iowa is not afraid of cold, harsh weather, and they're not afraid of nice, warm weather either. I think that Iowa's going to go out there. They'll probably have two tight ends score touchdowns.
Right.
And I really think that Iowa wins. I think it's going to be a 1, 2, 3 point ball game, but I think Iowa wins.
21-20. Something like that. All right, let's roll through a few of these. Virginia, Duke. Virginia is a 5.5 point favorite. You got Tennessee at home against New Mexico State. Tennessee, a 39.5 point favorite. I just for grins, give me New Mexico State to cover in that one. You got Ole Miss at home against Florida. Mississippi's a 13.5 point favorite. They're fighting for a playoff spot. Utah, Baylor, 7.5 point favorite. And BYU, TCU, BYU, a 3.5 point favorite. Do you see any upsets on the horizon with any of those games?
I don't. I really don't. And I'm usually a guy that kind of likes picking the underdog, that likes picking those types. But I think that again, this time of year, people realize how important it is. Now, I'm not predicting them all to cover like with you. I think Tennessee might get a big lead and then let their younger guys get some game time. But I don't see any upsets in that group. I think all the favorites win.
One final game, the real big one, 6:30 p.m. Well, besides OU, Alabama,
What?
Texas, Georgia. Texas, Georgia. Texas is headed to Athens. Texas at 7-2. Georgia at 8-1. Having watched both of these teams, all bias aside, I don't wish harm to Texas or anything. I've just seen what I've seen, and I've seen Georgia. Georgia's a 6.5 point favorite. I think they cover going away.
Yeah, 100%. Georgia wins, Georgia covers.
Yep.
And this is not just my anti-Texas bias.
Right.
I think that Texas has shown a lot of weaknesses, and the game that everybody watches, the Red River rivalry, that's a different ball game. I think you've got to throw that out, both wins and losses, because of what it actually is. Uh, and once again, Georgia is fighting for their life to get that top 4 spot. And the only way they can do that, if they lose to Texas, they're out. I mean, they'll probably make the playoff, but that top 4 is done. And so I think that they're going to come out. I think Texas has too many weaknesses. I think that Arch Manning, when pressured, makes some bad decisions sometimes. And I think that Georgia is going to take advantage of their defense and their defensive line. And I think they win, and I think they cover.
I think you bring up a really good point. While there are a lot of teams who are fighting to just get into playoff, Georgia and Alabama in particular are fighting for that number 4 spot. You get a week off, you get, some extra time to practice. You don't have to, even your administrative team doesn't have to host a game. You get to focus on one of 2 opponents. I said that was the big game, but I actually failed to mention the biggest game of them all, and it happens on Sunday. The Grey Cup, the 112th Grey Cup. Unfortunately, my Hamilton Ticats are not there. They lost to Montreal on a last-second field goal. I am, as somebody who's been to Canada a couple times and who reveres the country, who loves both Toronto and Montreal, but whose first city he ever went to in Canada was Hamilton. We stopped off at the stadium. It was great. In fact, the second time we went, I just walked onto the field and there was somebody from their marketing department like, "And you are? Why are you here?" I was like, "Oh, I'm just checking it out." And they're like, "Go to town." I love the CFL. Absolutely love the CFL. I'm disappointed. Hamilton has the longest streak of not having won the Grey Cup. They haven't won it since 1999. But this matchup, Montreal Saskatchewan, really interesting. The Rough Riders haven't won since 2013, and they have the quarterback in Trevor Harris that led the Owls to a Grey Cup win just 2 years ago in what was a great game against Winnipeg. The past several years, now Toronto won in a blowout last year. Toronto looked great. That was a game played in Vancouver. But most of these Grey Cup games are as good as the Super Bowl. In fact, the Super Bowl last year and the Grey Cup were very similar. Toronto won 41-24 over Winnipeg, and I believe Philadelphia won 40-22 over Kansas City. They were just butt kickings either way. Now, so as a general rule, my wife and I, we root for the teams on the eastern side, which means Hamilton, Toronto, Montreal, or Ottawa if the Red Blacks get back there anytime soon. But I do like Saskatchewan this year with Trevor Harris. I think they've got the superior quarterback. Montreal's quarterback, I like Davis Alexander.
Who doesn't? I mean,
right. Who does it? Right.
Right.
Davis Alexander, great mustache. He's got a great
Right.
mustache.
Exactly.
You have to have the look.
Well, I mean, when
more
you're living in the
Canada.
Great White North. Yeah, come on.
Right. So I've got the Molson's Light, the Labatt Blue, ready to go.
Got some moose head ready.
Have some moose head ready. Christy's making some poutine with bacon and jalapeno. And I
Tell me what time, baby.
5 o'clock, dude. 5 o'clock on Sunday. I'll be rooting for Montreal, but I won't be rooting against Saskatchewan. If I'm betting on this, I think Saskatchewan wins the game. I think it's their time. I think they have the superior quarterback. But let's just see what happens. But Machine Gun Kelly playing at halftime. Our Lady Peace playing before the game. By the way, Green Day played at halftime of the Grey Cup a couple years ago.
Heck yeah.
Yeah. I think it was, I forget who was last year. Maybe Jonas Brothers. I forget. So, any thoughts?
Well, I mean, I'm Saskatchewan all the way. I'm kind of more of a West Coast.
All right. So we have an East-West rivalry.
Yeah,
I'm Biggie. You're Tupac.
That's right. That's right. And I mean, because Calgary, I love the city of Calgary and all that.
You're
And you're right that they have the better quarterback clearly. So I'm going Saskatchewan.
Yeah. Good uniform matchup too. You're going to have that. Well, I don't know whether Saskatchewan's going to wear the deep green or not. This is in Winnipeg, so it's in a Western host city. So maybe Saskatchewan will wear the green, Montreal the white. I love this game. I love that it's going to be on American TV. More people ought to watch the CFL, and we could record an entire video about it. Maybe we will next year ahead of the season.
Well, the CFL is actually really fun football.
Mhm.
It's not the same as our football. I mean, it's still football, but I mean, it's some of the different rules, the motion rules, the size of the field, and they're adjusting some of that. But no, you're exactly right. Is people should watch more of this. I should watch more of this.
Well, and the guys who are going to announce the game, I believe his name is Rod Smith, and there's another guy, Glenn Suter. They are the Summerall and Madden of CFL. They remind me, watching them call the game, of Summerall and Madden. They're just that good. The broadcast, everything about it, I'm telling you, it's like getting a second NFL. And I get it. The skill level is not nearly the same, but it's just as fun.
Yeah. Well, from a fan perspective, that's really what I care about.
Yeah.
That's why I watch lower league college football sometimes, or lower league, soccer, because those are where you really see people just out there having fun, playing for the love of the sport. And man, that's nice to see sometimes.
So I will advise you, if you've made it this far, if you're wagering on our picks, that's on you. It really is on you. I
We
would.
don't.
Yeah.
We
It's
don't.
not legal in Oklahoma. I might put $5 here or there, but you can't even get a FanDuel or a DraftKings account here. It's illegal in Oklahoma.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, sports
it-
betting, they want to make it legal, but it's not.
Oh, okay. Okay. That's part of that thing that they're looking at. Okay.
So maybe one day we will put our money where our mouths are. In the interim, we're just creating content. If you bet based on our picks, we might just laugh at you.
Well, or dude, last week we had a winning record.
We
I
did
mean,
8-7.
last week we had a winning record,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
overall,
Most of these services aren't going to go 15-0. They're going to go 9-6 or 10-5. You just want to win for the week. So, but more than anything else, right. We just like talking about football. We hope you follow. We hope you like and subscribe, but we hope you save your money.
Well, and if you don't like our picks, comment. Just like the Notre Dame people did. Notre Dame's going to mad at us, and hope they'll come back and see our picks this week too.
Right.
But
Well,
you know,
I'll
leave some
definitely put it out
comments, and
because they're the greatest team of all time. They're the greatest team of all time. Yeah.
clearly, I mean, I fully expect them to win the next 10 national titles.
The next 10, I agree. I think it may be 11.
Could be.
It's a
They
prime
they already
number.
they already have a commitment from a 7th grader that's out of this world.
Right. All right. For Jeremy and for myself, Boomer Sooner,
Go Pokes!
until next week.